Hello, welcome back to the Luminous Group series on process topics. We're trying to help you get to process excellence. Today, we have as our special co-presenter, Richard Nave, Senior Consultant at the Luminous Group. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing great today, as a matter of fact. It's a beautiful Michigan summer day.
It is a beautiful day, and it's a holiday weekend, right?
We are coming up on a holiday weekend, although uh, I traveled a couple weeks ago, so I'm going to be staying home and sheltering in place, as our governor says.
And staying cool. Well, our topic today is PPAP. What does, that's a four-letter acronym. That's bigger than most. What does PPAP stand for?
Well, there's some history to PPAP, and the actual letters are production part approval process. And back in the day when Murray and I were young, and I actually had dark hair like Murray does, every company had their own approval process. And some people will remember ISR and ISIRs and warrants and submission warrants and all sorts of different approval processes. So the car companies all got together, and one of the first things that they encouraged the AIAG, another four-letter acronym, we sound like we're almost as bad as the government here, but the Automotive Industry Action Group to do was to commonize this part approval process. So AIAG created what they considered to be a best practice. And in that best practice is this PPAP, or part approval process. And really, this is when, everybody got together and said, this is what we need from our suppliers to know they're ready to go into production.
Great. So you mentioned like GM, Ford, and of course that's just representative of a category to call a customer. So when you produce a part, this is a big milestone before you go into mass production and the customer knows what they're getting. So explain, like, especially why did the customers, or in the automotive industry, the OEs, why did they say that? Why did they require PPAP?
You
Why
know,
not just, why cut that step out? It doesn't give them any parts.
it's a really good question. What is the value proposition of a PPAP? Okay. Where's the pot of gold at the end of that rainbow for PPAP? And really, there is an important milestone, because this is a line in the sand. It is a milestone that you can go back to. And what you're doing is you are documenting that your process meets the requirements that your customer has provided you. And this then documents what that process is. What are the steps you're going through? Who are the suppliers you're using, and what are they providing to you? And how will you bring all of this together to provide something that meets all of the testing, the dimensional specifications, any type of specification that might be on there, color, appearance, even smell or odor can be part of a PPAP. And this draws that milestone. It says that this process meets your requirements, and we're ready to go and produce, as you said, mass produce this part.
So when you say we're ready to go, that's kind of like the customer, the supplier, even the suppliers, everyone giving a thumbs up saying, we've got this nailed down. We could follow, we know the recipe, we could follow the recipe over and over again.
That is right. It is the good old Fonzie giving you the thumbs up on your parts.
But what is in a PPAP? You mentioned these documents. What's in it?
Well, it's funny because you mentioned this thumbs up, and the thumbs up can come in a number of different ways. It can be as simple as sending in one piece of paper to your customer that warrants, that says, I did all the work, okay? And I have documentation for this, but here's the one piece of paper. And when your customer signs off on that, that's the Fonz giving you the thumbs up again. And they may do that just by email or electronically, or they may do it on site at your location. More typically, though, the customers will ask you to submit all of this information. And that information can be all of the test results that prove that you meet all the physical properties. It can be a dimensional study. It can be the gauge R&Rs that prove that your gauges work. And by the way, gauge R&R is something that we'll be talking about later in this process series. It can include the capability studies that show that your process is capable, particularly for significant or critical characteristics. It may also include your color, appearance, grain, gloss types of approvals, and it will include all of your sub-suppliers' PPAPs to you. So if you're a supplier of a plastic injection molded part, there will be a PPAP, even if your part is one piece of plastic, your supplier of raw material will send in a PPAP to you that assures you that their material meets the standards. So even the simplest of parts may have multiple PPAPs included in the final one that's submitted to the end user.
So I think I get it. It's a lot of effort, but it's in a way like kicking the tires, so to speak. Like, is this process going to work, meet our customers' requirements, and for everyone to have an agreement? But sometimes customers don't require it in other industries. Is it worth the effort?
You know, that's something that we've run into with a number of our clients who are not in the automotive industry. And what I always try to remind people about is that this is considered a best practice. And what it does for you is really valuable to you more than your customer. This is another one of these tools, Murray, that oftentimes if we ask our clients, well, why do you do a PPAP or why do you do a layered process audit? They'll say, well, the customer requires it. Well, that's probably the worst reason to use any of these tools or to do these. The real reason, the why behind the PPAP is that the PPAP provides you with a known reset. It's just like if your computer starts to screw up, Windows has the ability to go back in time and reset your computer to when it worked. If you start to have quality problems or develop issues with your manufacturing where you're no longer producing good parts, you now have a milestone to go back to, and it says, when we did this process, we had good parts. So now I have someplace that I can go back to and get reset and get good parts again. And so it's really valuable. In addition, even if your customer doesn't require it, don't you want to have a standard process that says, we know our suppliers are ready, we know our tools are ready, we know our gauges are ready, we know that our people are trained, we know that our capital equipment is ready. All those things are verified in the PPAP. So this is a great process to ensure that you're ready, whether you're producing parts in the automotive industry or if you're producing consumer direct parts, you're ready to go. And even if you're purchasing the parts, this is a great process to push down onto your suppliers. How do you know your suppliers are ready to go? Well, now you have a standard process to use to check your suppliers. So there's really a lot of value to this, separate from any customer requirement to do it.
Great, excellent, great. So a lot of value, not just to show the customer you've done it, but for yourself to prove it. And I like what you're talking about as going back to a point in time where you knew what all the setting standards, instructions were, gauges were calibrated. That's great.
Absolutely.
Well, Rich, that's about the time for now. What if people want a little bit more information or clarity about PPAP?
Maury, you're changing up on me here. This is going to be the first one where I do the closing, but they can go to the Luminous Group website, which is www.luminousgroup.com, and that's LUMINOUSGROUP.com. Also, you can follow Murray and I both on LinkedIn, and we try to post periodically there on interesting articles or other information on some of these process steps. And lastly, you can give Murray a call at, and I'll let you give the number, Murray.
248-538-8677. We'd be glad to talk more. Thanks for joining us today. Rich, thanks a lot. That was great information about PPAP. We'll see you again next time on our series of Process Excellence.
Have a great day, Murray.